Okay, today we're going to change the transmission fluid on a 97 Chevy van. This particular van has a 4L80E transmission in it, and this procedure will apply to all General Motors automatic transmissions, including turbo 350s and turbo 400s, which are 3-speeds. First thing you got to do is get a hold of the dealership, and you can just give them your VIN number and they can tell you what kind of transmission your vehicle has in it. And you have to pick up a pan gasket as well as a new filter for the transmission, which should also have a gasket in it, which is in there somewhere. I'll show you later. And Dexron Mercon fluid, which is what General Motors transmissions use. Okay, so now I've got the van lifted up, got it jacked up in the front so that I can get underneath it comfortably, and I've located the transmission pan. And some pans have a drain plug, like this one does. It takes a star driver. So we're just going to take this bowl out first and drain the transmission fluid into a container. Okay, now we're just going to let the transmission fluid drain out. Okay, now once the fluid has drained, you'll locate the pan bolts, and there's quite a few of them on the pans. This one happens to be a 10 millimeter, so I've got a socket with an extension, and I'm just going to go up and go around the whole pan and break all the bolts loose. Okay, so now I'm almost finished taking the bolts out. Got 2 more in here. Bring the pan down nice and even here. Set it on the floor below the transmission. It's going to drain for a little while longer. Here's your filter. Okay, on this particular application, there is no screws, so it's just press fit into the transmission, the filter is. So you just give it a little pull, wobble, and then there's your filter. Okay, now we've got the pan down, and we're going to remove the gasket. The gasket's stuck on the pan in this case. A lot of times it'll stay on the transmission. Just remove that, and what you got to do now is just clean the pan out pretty good. So you can use something like brake parts cleaner. Carburetor cleaner leaves a residue behind, so you don't really want to use that. You could use gasoline. A lot of these new transmissions will have a magnet in them like this. The magnet will catch a lot of this metal stuff. This black stuff is actually just, it's really fine metal. So, I'm just going to spray it with some brake parts cleaner now. And then wipe it down. Try to stay as clean as you can. This is going to have to be very clean before it gets all put back together. Okay, now you just got to get something that you can scrape with. I'm just going to use a paint scraper, and make sure that your surface where the gasket and the transmission, where the pan and the transmission meet and the gasket goes in between here, you want to have a smooth surface, and you don't want to scratch it with whatever you're using to clean it off with. But you want this to be nice and smooth, and I've got the transmission pan pretty well cleaned out now. Okay, now we're going to climb back under the vehicle, and the surface where the pan and the transmission meet, where the gasket is going to go, you've got to make sure you get all the old gasket material off also, just like we did with the pan. So I'm just going to scrape this and wipe it off. Maybe use a little brake parts cleaner if you have to. Again, be careful not to scuff or scar this surface. Okay, so I had to, this is the seal that the filter mounts into, and I had to tap it with a hammer a few times and kind of mangle it up, and then I just grabbed it with a pair of pliers, and I grabbed it with pliers and just pulled it out. So it's nice and clean up in there. You can wipe the stuff off a little bit. Make sure that you don't scuff or damage this surface too much here. In this transmission's case, the new filter is just going to push in. The 3-speed transmissions will have 2 bolts that hold the filter up into the transmission. So basically it's the same thing, but you have to put 2 bolts in the 3 speeds, and they have a flat gasket instead of a gasket that's shaped like this one. Okay, now we've cleaned the surfaces. We've removed the old seal out of the hole here where the oil filter mounts. And to put the new one in, it's simply a press fit. Okay, now I've made sure that the gasket fits the pan, and I'm just going to hold the pan up. I have to work it up in here. Sometimes this can be a little bit tricky. Okay, now I'm just going to go around and put the screws in. It doesn't really matter what order you start tightening in, just to get them fit so that the pan is held up. You don't really need any pressure on the gasket at this point, just so that you have enough here to hold the pan up while you're putting all the screws in. In this van there's 17, and I've also put the drain plug in so that it's not dripping on me while I'm doing this. Okay, now I've got all the screws in, and I'm just going to go around in a circle instead of tightening opposing screws. I'm just going to go in a circle because there's so many screws you don't want to get screwed up or miss one. So I'm just going to barely tighten them, and I'll go around and do this process probably about 4 times before I tighten to the main torque spec, and that will be different on each particular transmission. So first I'm just going to go light with them. The next time around I'll tighten a little more, and then the third time I'll go for my torque spec. Okay, so there's the last pan bolt. Now I want to tighten my drain bolt real quick, and that just has to be not too tight, but you don't want it to come off, so make sure that that's on and sealed or you will have a leak. And you probably want to check this. Just keep an eye on it and make sure that nothing's dripping over the next couple uses. Okay, now we're ready to fill. And we're going to do it with a clean funnel. This is a transmission funnel. It doesn't really matter. It's longer, and they have a screen in the top of them. And this transmission calls for 14.5 pints, as per my owner's manual. Not owner's manual, but my Chilton's. So I'm just going to slowly add fluid here. And I'm going to add 4 quarts and then check it. Okay, now I've got 4 quarts of transmission fluid in it. I use this Dexcool Max Life 7500 for transmissions over 75,000. You don't have to use that. Any Dexron Mercon will work. Okay, I've got the dipstick in. Now I'm going to start the engine and run it through the gears. I'll show you how to do that, and then we'll check the fluid level. Okay, now I'm going to start the van. Let it idle for a minute. And all you're going to do here, this is anytime you're checking an automatic transmission on a General Motors car, this is the process you go through to check it. Bring it all the way down into your lowest gear. In this case, we've got first gear. Count 5 seconds, go to the next gear up, which is second. And then we'll go to thirds. Fourth, which is overdrive. Neutral. Reverse. And then back to park. And then we can check our fluid. Okay, what I'm going to do first is just wipe it off because we did get it pretty dirty having putting the fluid in without having it running. So we'll just put the dipstick in, pull it out, the motor's still running in park, and then just check your fluid. And it looks like I'm pretty close. 6 we're still going to add a little bit. Okay, basically the only tools that we used here, we used some pliers and the hammer and screwdriver. That was all to get the little seal out of the transmission for the filter. And then we used a ratchet. In this case I've got Craftsman stuff with an extension and a 10 millimeter socket on it. And for the drain plug, I just picked one of these up at the auto store. It's like 20 bucks for this whole set here. And the number that we used was a T55. Other transmissions might be different. That's for this 4L80E. And then the gasket scraper and some shop towels. That's it.